As Berlin burned, they came to raid our hall. Our godless rolls were empty. Max Seaver saved us all. 500,000 godless Germans we. First they came for us, but we were already free. Freidenker, stand against the Reich. Max Seaver's crusader for our rights. Freidenker, resistor from the start. We will carry Max within our hearts. In Belgium, he hid away, truth's banner to raise, fighting Hitler with his pen. Max lived to fight again. Freidenker, stand against the Reich. Max Seaver's crusader for our rights. Freidenker, resistor from the start. We will carry Max within our hearts. America turned him away, a hero lost in the fray. Your name we will sing, Max Seaver's hero of the free. Freidenker, he was taken by the Reich. Max Seaver's murdered for our rights. Freidenker, free German minds. Max Seavers, you also freed mine.
Hello. It is the return of the St. George bedroom, my folks' place, staying with the Padres while I am in town dealing with some urgent medical uh, emergencies in the family. Everything is now in hand and in order, we hope, and excited to say that hopefully we're doing well. People who are concerned, I appreciate your concern. Let's go ahead and see if we can adjust the the camera. I decided, you know what? The only way to get back into the on the horse on doing weekly our weekly sermon, which unfortunately we skipped. Is it one? We skipped 1 week. 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 week, I think. Well, anyways, it's been an interesting time in my personal life. So sorry if that's been awkward. So let's just go ahead and get our color temperature better. Let's get it better. Let's get everything better. Hi, I'm ExmoJoe, also known as Joe Rollins from the Church of Korihor. Thank you for your concern. It's very, very simple. Not as desperate as it had been. Turns out one of my children has diabetes, and we found that out the hard way. And so, love her very much. Hopeful that things are going to get better now that we have family who have swooped in with love around her and around my ex-wife and my children. And I'm very fortunate to have people in my life who love us and who understand how diabetes works. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. So back from Virginia, for a couple of days. Going to get some things in hand while I'm here in Utah, including hopefully get a podcast episode about Tyler Robinson wrapped up here in Washington before I leave on Wednesday back to Virginia. Flying through North Carolina, any Korihors in North Carolina, you want to grab lunch or something, let's go. So, anyways, it looks like on Wednesday, probably late at night. So, um, I didn't consider that till just now. It literally is just happening right now. Yeah, but yeah, no, let me tell you, I'm very grateful for the technology of the improvement of technology when it comes to insulin distribution. Um, I grew up watching my grandfather inject himself with insulin on a regular basis. I don't know that it was particularly smart to share this with my children, as I have many times. That when I was a kid, I thought I'd rather die, and but it was an interesting dilemma now to look at it and say, you know, for all the fear that I had of diabetes my whole life, and still haven't been diagnosed with it myself, which may be just for lack of trying. Um, the it's been amazing to me to see how now there's a medical system and medical science that makes diabetes an actually livable condition, and it's pretty remarkable. So, in any event, I'm very excited. Thank you for your concern. I'm very excited to say that she has the care that she needs, and so, oh, hey, there you go. Another reason to love Canada. Uh, I take it as I understand it. Canada also discovered how to pay for insulin. Right, we in America are on the slow uptake on that, but there's a new bill being pushed right now um, to cap insulin costs at $35 a month. Surely this will be the time that it takes. In any event, yeah. So let me tell you a little bit thing about Swamp Jesus. I was thinking about this recently and how amazing it is to me to consider that we live in a time and age where Christians have completely abandoned anything that was once sold to us as Christianity. And it's considered just normal now. It's not even a thing where we consider that there are nuanced approaches to Christianity. I want to take you, for example, on a ride through the career of one pastor, Mark Burns. Let me see if I can. I was trying to find a good picture of him. Arguably, there are no bad pictures of Mark Burns. You look up Pastor Mark Burns, um, and the man lives for a photograph. You know what I'm saying? In any event, let me see here. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's try this one. No, okay. Let me put it this way. Let me introduce it this way. Let me pull this up. Where's the Instagram? I always do this. Like I do research and then I find it. I find something good and then I wander away from it. So if you don't know, Pastor Mark Burns is the guy who went out on television in what was this in the 2020 for election campaign to say hello. Did I say North Carolina? Oh, are you in South Carolina, Lisa? Hey, yeah. Uh, did I say North? Did I say South Carolina? I'm going through Charlotte. I'm going through Charlotte. South Carolina is where Pastor Mark Burns is from. Not sure which comment you're responding to. Um, but he was the guy who came out at the rally in the Republican convention to announce his strongest Christian voice that we are electing a man in Donald Trump that believes in the name of Jesus Christ, and then has gone on to defend it for 2 years, uh, which, he was one of the surrogates for Donald Trump in 2024. And previously to that, Shirley was associated with him, but just not, it wasn't on my radar because I try to consume as little political news as I can. Unfortunately, there's only so much that you can avoid in a day. But the same guy has gone on now to defend why he has not proposed or celebrated, excuse me, what I call Bad Angel Moroni, which is this gold statue of Donald Trump. And now he and these other pastors have had to defend themselves, saying that they are not pushing on the American people a golden calf when that or idolatry, by blessing this golden statue of Donald Trump, when very clearly in the minds of most people who know Christianity, that is exactly what they've been doing. It is basically an organization, not even an organization, a movement that has lost all of its soul, that has lost any hint of humanity. I just want to check my okay, well, I was checking my messages. I tried to get Kyle Butler, who's one of my favorite black evangelical preacher friends, to back me up on this. He hasn't responded yet. You're online. You're online, Kyle. I know that you are. Um, and I hear you. Oh wow. Oh cool. Fun. I mean, not. I mean, terrible. Sorry. Uh, I don't know. Do you like do you like it there? Do you like it in the South? I'm loving living in the South since I've been living in Virginia. We gotta get all the Southern. We gotta get all the Appalachian, uh, ex Christians, ex Mormons, and Korihors all together. We are live, Tim. Welcome, Tim. You got to be loving the news of what's happening. I mean, Tim Rathbone and I, we communicate on the down low once in a while about. Can you believe the shit that's happening right now? Anyways, I had contacted Kyle Butler and asked him if I make a comment on tonight's sermon calling Mark Burns and Uncle Ruckus piece of shit, can I have your unholy black evangelical blessing? He has not gotten back to me. I will be reaching out next to some of my other black unbelievers friends. Somebody's got to back me up on this. I have been told that I am not supposed to make comments about people being an unholy alliance with the with against black people in spite of being black themselves. That's not my place to say it because I am not myself black. You see, I hate to shock anyone, but I don't know. I just have a different perspective of it, considering that um, Mark Burns being an Uncle Ruckus piece of shit is about Mark Burns being an Uncle Ruckus piece of shit, not about what I am. He is regardless of what I am. But apparently, so I'm just not saying that because I haven't been authorized to say it. But Mark Burns, I don't know if you know this, he has a bit of a. I'm not crazy. You guys saw that, right? Like it all got darker all of a sudden. Did I did I do something wrong? Lord? Hold on. Sorry, I just had to Korihor myself a minute in case I was in trouble. Anyways, so Pastor Mark Burns has started a school. Now you could call it a fake school, but I ask you, would a fake school have an Instagram page with a following of 31 followers? I ask you this. I ask you this. Wait, How big of a fool do you feel like right now? I mean, really, 31 followers. So it's called Burns Military Christian Academy, not Burns Academy, not Burns Christian Military Academy, but Burns Military Christian Academy. If you're um, one of these apostates from Burns Christian Military Academy, repent. But it's actually supposed to be Burns Military Christian Academy. Basically, this is the latest grift from a man who has spent his entire life just grifting. Here he is with the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Don't get me started. Here he is talking at the BEYA Stars and Stripes dinner. Here he is, uh, talking on whatever television ish. Here he is advocating for Israel. That certainly was never going to come back to bite him in the ass in any way. Uh, then here he is um, uh, promoting Happy Easter Sunday. And his objective, he claims, is to create this Christian academy, military academy for kids who don't need special discipline. Um, I don't know if you have ever seen any 90s movies or 80s movies, Pastor Mark Burns, but only kids with disciplinary issues go to military academy. I know this. I grew up with what do you call it, John Hughes movies. So I know full well that it's only kids who have disciplinary issues who wind up in military school. It's just it's wild because it's like it's the latest grift from a man who just has no shame whatsoever. If you don't know, Pastor Mark Burns padded his resume on his website with a whole bunch of stuff about him that was not true. For example, he claims that he went to let me get make sure I get all of this exactly right. I kind of went live before I was done compiling all my notes in one place. Yeah. Okay. That he claimed to have a Bachelor of Science degree from North Greenville University. The nuanced that's what he claims. The nuanced answer on that, the nuanced story, because there's always, there's an official story when, especially it's your resume, right? There's what you actually did there, and then there's what you actually did there. That's what you say you did there, right? It's like, oh, well, I was a shift manager, meaning what? You had to be there and clock in at a certain time. You were a shift manager then, or I managed company priorities means that you were near the phone and answered when somebody called the phone. Yeah, or you communicated with media and other and community leaders. That means that you answered the phone if somebody called. Something like that. The nuanced side of his having a bachelor of science from North Greenville University is he actually doesn't. So there's that. People, you mockers and scoffers, may you feel terrible. Also, he claims to have been a member of the traditionally black fraternity Kappa Alpha Psi. Uh, that's the claim. The actual truth, as nuanced, if I can see how you might say that that was a lie. The nuanced explanation of what happened there is that it's a lie. Yeah, well, in that it's not true. Uh, it was a thing. It was a thing he said happened, and it didn't. It didn't happen. Uh, Pastor Mark Burns, you out there? Help me out here. How do I spin this? He maybe thought it happened in a moment when he realized that he has never done anything for the Black community that was of actual positive service to African Americans because he is a piece of shit. Allegedly, he is a piece of shit. But he just goes from one grift to another. Eventually, he wound up having to admit to all of these things, to these lies, when he was confronted by CNN in an interview where they had dug deep into all this stuff, and it was apparently his claim that he belonged to this that he belonged to this fraternity that was what actually tipped it wide open. For whatever reason, somebody went, "Wait a minute. If that were true, we could contact them and ask them, is this guy really a member of this fraternity?" And they did, and they looked into the background behind it, and it's not real. It's not true. He's lying. He's a liar. And then he had to admit finally that he padded his resume a little bit on his website, maybe exaggerated a few things on his resume. But in his defense, he claims that his website was hacked. Okay. Among the other claims made there is that he served 6 years in the Army Reserve. That's the claim. He served 6 years in the Army Reserve. In reality, the nuanced explanation is that he did not do that. No, it's that he did not. In Mark Burns' defense, though, he did serve in the South Carolina National Guard. And it may be possible that Senator Mark Burns doesn't know what the difference is. And that apparently is something nobody needs to be concerned about. Um, so that's Mark Burns. Now he runs Burns Military Academy on, well, I don't know who runs the Instagram, but he runs he runs apparently this military school in and of itself where people pay $200 a month to have their kids go there and not be disciplined because it's not for disciplining kids who have discipline problems. In fact, he has specifically stated on their website that kids who have discipline problems are not welcome at their school. Um, it's just one grift after another. Well, perhaps the more recent grift that I am concerned about because I am now in trouble over it. Let's see if I get in trouble for even bringing this up. Oh, hell's bells. Sorry. I had all of this pulled up and I somehow actually closed it by accident. I'm going over to YouTube to our YouTube channel. I'm going over to shorts. I don't know if you've seen this, but I started to get a couple of bad comments. I don't get many comments on our shorts at the Church of Korihor, but I get some, and I just want to share one with you. I just want to share one of my videos that's getting some negativity, even though all I do once in a while is just post. Lately, I've been just posting a bunch of hot takes just to try and get people uh, just to try and to feel out the waters of what kind of content people are expecting. But here's my most recent short I posted here on YouTube. So Donald Trump's new girlfriend is 10 years younger than Ivanka. So when he referred to Ivanka at 16 on Howard Stern as a piece of ass, his new girlfriend was 6 years old at that time. So Donald Trump's new girlfriend. That's it. That's the whole comment. Can you guys hear that okay? Okay. Now, when I say Donald Trump's new girlfriend, and now I'm being accused by some people of spreading misinformation. Yes, the nuanced explanation of my behavior here is that I am nuanced. The nuanced explanation is that I call her Donald Trump's new girlfriend, um, with loose interpretation. It doesn't mean that she's wearing his letter jacket. It doesn't mean that he made her, wear his ring because they're going steady. That's not what I meant. I mean, as far as we know, he's in love with this woman and she's in love with him. Meaning, if you don't know about this, here, let me put that picture up on screen. I have it in the background here. That this person, whose name is Natalie Harp, they call her the human printer. And I tried to find where it actually says this in Horton Hears a Who. Apparently, it doesn't. Hold on, let me remove this. Um, but apparently they don't actually show it. Hold on. There we go. Here's the full picture. Okay, so her name is Natalie Harp. Okay. Apparently, this was invented only for the movie. I was shocked to find. I wasn't shocked to find, but but if you see Horton Hears a Who, there's this description of the councilman and the city council, the Whoville Council, that says that they would only abide hearing good news. Well, they called this woman at one point the good news printer. Now that's being repositioned as the human printer because she doesn't just print good news anymore. And now apparently at least has access to Donald Trump's social media accounts, if not is in control of his social media account, including his Truth Social account, including that she has apparently posted and reposted content that is downright right wing Christo fascist propaganda in his name, allegedly. Uh, but what she does, they call her the human printer now because she carries a portable printer with her everywhere that she goes and prints out good news so that he can read good news because Donald Trump doesn't like reading things on a screen. He only likes to read things that are printed out. Tell me you're a boomer without telling me you're a boomer, right? But yeah, he it's not news for him unless it's in print. And so she has to print things out so that he can get far right wing fandom put into his eye holes on a regular basis. And this is what she just does. This is basically her job now. Which can you imagine? But apparently, recently, what's been revealed in Maggie Haberman and what's his bucket's new book. There's this new book that they've put out where they talk about how the Trump administration and the Secret Service has been so concerned about this woman since 2020 when Donald Trump lost re-election. Am I still allowed to say that, or do I wind up with federal agents knocking on my door now? I don't know if you've seen this, but like now, if you say the wrong thing about ICE agents, there's a woman in New York who said the wrong thing about the guy who shot Renee Good, and uh, um, and she ended up. She's a poll worker, and she ended up with DHS agents showing up to a polling place where she was working and telling her they wanted her to sign a statement saying that she understood that she might have broken the law by posting comments that were critical of an ICE agent, like including the guy who and with no denial from anyone of significance shot and murdered a woman in the streets on camera. But I mean, it's wild. Now they can go into a polling place and just say, "You're going to sign this statement. We want you to sign this statement saying that you understand that you may have broken the law." Uh, and luckily for her, she had a coworker who was sitting right there filming the whole interaction and who then stayed, "Don't sign nothing. Don't sign anything till you have a lawyer with you." And I just want to say thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what needs to be said. We need more of this happening in the world. We need people recording anytime anybody shows up, law enforcement of any kind shows up to tell you, especially if they show up to tell you, you have said the wrong thing or said the wrong thing in media posts. I don't know if you've seen this, followed this, but now in Texas, there's a similar situation going on where these people were found guilty of harm done to this person and of injuries done to a law enforcement officer at one of these rallies. At a rally, who had nothing to do. Apparently, he got fireworks, launched in his face like a Roman candle or something like this, launched at his body and suffered burns that were potentially life threatening. He's alive. Um, but now all these people have been convicted of conspiring to hurt this law enforcement officer. I forget which branch of the law enforcement he works in, but in any event, uh, because and this is true, in spite of the fact that they had nothing to do with actually hurting this person, they had nothing to do with it. But because their Facebook posts showed that they had sometimes anti-government leanings in some of their social media posts, they're now guilty of a crime of attempting or conspiring to hurt a police officer. You know, it's like it boggles the mind that you're living in America when you have these things happening. And it makes you almost feel gaslit, like you're looking around going, was it always like this? Has it always been like this and we're just now realizing it? And I'm just realizing it. Is everything that I believed about what America was supposed to be just an outright lie? But because one of the core values that we have always believed in, it seems to me, as Americans, is that you should have, first and foremost, according to the very first right from the Bill of Rights, a right to believe what you want and to express what you want and to print it in the press if you are in the press. When those rights go away, I've always believed and still perhaps naively believe that it is when those any of those rights erode or go away that you can no longer say that you live in a place or time that is against tyranny. Tyranny and fascism are just different ways of describing the same autocratic behavior. When everybody has to say only good things about somebody because it hurts his feelings when you don't say good things about them. And if you don't say good things about them and exclusively good things about them for fear that somebody may arrest you or charge you with a crime or put you away, you don't live in a free society. You just don't. We have to be able to live if we're going to live in a society where people believe that there is freedom. It is not a political stance purely. It is a moral stance that people must be allowed to believe what they want, say what they want, print what they want, and without restriction from the government telling them especially not without restriction from the government saying you can't say that because it hurts this one political leader's feelings. And so when we have a situation where a person has an unofficial job just to go around and fill one world leader's eye holes with printouts of things that make him feel good about himself, it should be of great concern, especially when one of those is this article or video. I didn't actually watch it or read it yet. There's only so much Christo-fascism I can consume in a day, and it's every day that I end up consuming some amount. Is that this is called the Unified Reich. And I saw it, looked at it, said I should inform myself of this, and couldn't bring myself to look any further into it. I just can't bring myself to think anymore during the course of an average day that this is something that apparently Donald Trump or one of his aides actually reposted on his social media. I just don't see or in any way flattered the idea, the people who came up with this concept. I'm sure as soon as I actually look at it, which I probably will this week, as soon as I recover from this past week, which has been a bit of a whirlwind, as you can imagine, um, is that it's just going to infuriate me further. Um, I try not to make political comments. That's why I try not to talk about Donald Trump. But just as what was interesting to me this week is that just as I remember when I was a teenager being rather conflicted as a Mormon teenager who is relatively conservative both politically and religiously, when the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at the time, Gordon B. Hinckley, went on television as the prophet on Larry King, and spoke about how America was in moral chaos because Bill Clinton had a relationship with a woman 27 years his junior, Monica Lewinsky, if you're not following. If you're, what, 30 years behind? Sorry. Uh, he had a relationship with a woman who worked in the White House who was 27 years his senior. Okay. And it was so shocking in the minds in the mind of the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that he felt compelled to go on television and say this man is supposed to be a moral leader to the children of this country, and he needs to be and he advocated for impeaching President Clinton because he had, frankly, a relationship I don't think you can argue is consensual necessarily, because, of course, she worked for him. Her career in Washington would definitely rise and fall on his approval and what he said and thought of her, and he did take advantage of the fact that this young person was in love with him. She still talks about it this way and says, "What I did wrong allegedly was to fall in love with my boss, who was the most powerful man in the world." And it was like, in hindsight, I can look back at it and say, boy, everyone did her dirty. Saturday Night Live made jokes about her. The media made took cheap shots at her. There was all this skepticism about, well, she doesn't want to treat this like it was some shot at fame for her. But then why is it that when she went in for her record to film her testimony for the special what do they call it for the special counsel, that she went and got a haircut? And it's like that she got a haircut. That was, I don't know how many of you were alive at the time. This was a scandal. This was a scandal that the woman got a haircut so that she would look nice on camera, knowing that she will look nice in her own opinion, that she would look nice, knowing that whatever she went and said on the record in this videotape deposition, that it would be part of history forever. So she went, and for confidence sake, I would assume, I guess. I don't I don't claim to understand everything about what goes on in women's heads or anybody's heads really. But why wouldn't you? Wouldn't you go get a haircut? I knew I was going to be on camera today and got a haircut. I don't know how many of you have been following my posts since I've been in Virginia. I did not get a haircut basically for a month that I was in Virginia. When my hair is long, it gets unruly. When my hair is long in the humidity of the Appalachian mountain region in the summer, it is downright My hair has its own head. It has its own mind. It does its own thing completely. And when I got back here to Utah and had even just a moment's breath to myself, I said, I'm going to go over to Grey Cliffs. And I literally took 10 minutes on my way to pick up my son from therapy to get my hair cut because I would go, I do go full mountain. I do. It's shocking, right? I'm leaving that up for a minute because it's true. It gets disturbing. But but when I'm out there, the nearest place to get your hair cut is like 30 to 40 minutes away, depending on weather. Traffic's like always the same pretty much out there, but weather determines whether or not you're going into town. It's like if you are hungry and there's no food in the house, but it's raining in Virginia, you'll eat tomorrow. Um, so you got to get used to that. So, anyways, but this woman got a haircut to go in and give a deposition she knew would be recorded and replayed in front of the most powerful people in the world, and then replayed in history over and over and over again to talk about things that she did with the president of the United States with a cigar, with a certain dress, and things like this, knowing that in some aspect she would be accused of representing women one way or another, that she would be accused of representing Democrats one way or another, then she would be accused of being, you know, well, a sexual deviant, shall we say, and so forth. And also that she would be both portrayed as a victim and as a perpetrator, as a cheater, and also as a martyr by people on all sides. So she went and got a haircut and said, "Well, at least I'm going to do it. I'm going to have the confidence of looking cute in her own eyes." And she has been slandered. She was slandered for decades. Now, going into this only into this third decade, do I feel like we finally have people talking about Monica Lewinsky in a way where we can look at and say, "What was she supposed to do?" I mean, what was she supposed to do? Was she supposed to lie? Was she supposed to hide it? They had the receipts. They had a receipt for a novel that she gave, a romance novel that she gave the president of the United States, I think for his birthday or something, that she gave him as a gift. And they got they, of all things, Kenneth Starr found this receipt for this salacious titled book that she gave the president as a gift because she was in love with him. She was his little girlfriend. Okay. But the thing that seemed to me at the time, looking back, was Bill Clinton should have known better. Bill Clinton, whatever kind of statesman you want to believe he is, it's not about his politics to say that's a woman 27 years younger than him. He is in a committed relationship with a woman who is faithful to him through thick and thin. And was it Leaves of Grass? No. Was it really? I don't. Maybe not. Is that what? That's not that. That's not so salacious. Anyways, right? Jesse, you send somebody, will you? Yes. Good. 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 Um, but it's crazy to me to look back on that and say, and in the meantime, now we have a woman in the White House who follows the leader of the country around wherever he goes and just prints out good news for him. But then she leaves comments for him stating, let's see if I should we play this game again, where I try to find a way that I am, where we are, where this is, yeah, where this is a thing. Sometimes I do better about these broadcasts. Sorry, guys. I get better. I get better in time. Well, that's just the thing is that she leaves him, apparently, according to this book that came out recently, There was a there are letters that she has written to him and left in places for him, telling him things like, "Nobody matters more to me than you." And I just want to be clear here. This woman is a Christian, devotedly so. There was an article I read this week about uh, her brother, who has moved to Nicaragua now, has gave an interview with the media in which he said he didn't even know that his sister worked for Donald Trump until like 2024, and until the 2024 campaign, when she first started getting, a lot of coverage on it, that he doesn't talk to her or his mother, their mother, since they both became religious zealots and extremists in the wake of his father's um, self termination, shall we say? Uh, that the family's broken up and they don't talk to each other anymore. That he is this diehard anti-Trump guy now living in Nicaragua and publishing against fascism in all over the world, and publishing, at least writing about how evil authoritarianism is all over the world. And he finds out that his sister is following Donald Trump around everywhere he goes, printing things out for him, and then leaving him notes where she said somewhere that she refers to him as her guardian and protector. And she made the claim also, apparently at one point, right? And she was a graduate of Liberty University. She got a uh, what do you call it? A graduate degree, a master's, no, an MBA, excuse me, at Liberty University. But and that's just the thing. Now her alma mater at the Christian school that she went to has come out to say that they don't approve of Donald Trump's policies. The not the alma mater itself, but students at her alma mater, this Christian school that she went to before Liberty University, have come out to say that they disavow all the things that she is doing and don't understand why she considers herself Christian, and why she still considers herself worthy to represent a Christian worldview, especially when she treats Donald Trump with this language that makes it very clear that he is higher in her mind than God, that he is higher than Christ, that she believes more in MAGA than she does in Christianity, obviously. But in her mind, it appears that to be MAGA and to be Christian are the same thing. And I just find it remarkable that while all this is happening, President Dallin H. Oaks says nothing. Nothing. I think I read that it was Michael Wolff, perhaps one of the most disgusting people alive, by the way. But nonetheless, recently wrote a book in which he also talks about how strange it was this woman is so infatuated with Donald Trump that even conservative Christians inside Donald Trump's circle, which is basically the Heritage Foundation, can't get rid of her and have tried, apparently. That this woman, uh, she shows up in the most awkward of places, including, by the way, this weekend. I think it's yesterday. It's either yesterday or today. New York Times published a post saying that Donald Trump returned to the White House, and right behind him, they have the photo. He enters into the White House with his entourage, and right behind him, before his entourage has fully arrived, is Natalie Harp. Who doesn't arrive with Donald Trump, his entourage, and Natalie Harp, including Natalie Harp? Melania Trump, who officially, remember this, her office and her staff, the staff of the First Lady of the President of the United States. Do you remember where the First Lady keeps her offices? Right, it's in the East Wing, which is now a hole in the ground, and just just gets just gets overlooked. Just let that just blow away. It's a hole in the ground. I mean, make a message, make a message out of that if you can. In any event, but she officially doesn't live there. She lives in Mar-a-Lago part of the time and then commutes to New York. Occasionally, I think she commutes back to Slovenia with her son, who by the way is a Slovenian, um, is also a citizen of Slovenia. He's a dual citizen. Well, you have all these people around Donald Trump making comments about how people who are dual citizens in America and other places and need to pick a lane and need to blah blah blah. That includes the first lady and the youngest child known about, anyways, of Donald Trump are dual citizens. It, well, I remember a time in life when that wasn't such a scandal, right? And so it's like, okay, so I try hard not to make political comments. I don't tell people how to vote or how not to vote. Do what you want, vote how you want, think what you want. I'm not condemning you for what your political beliefs are. What I condemn is what Jesus condemned, believe it or not, which is surprising even to me because I don't particularly like Jesus. Um, they're worse. They're worse than Jesus, right? Some recent mentions come to mind. But Jesus is, as I have understood him, has always been his one of his main, the character of Jesus, one of his main bugaboos, one of his main causes is to preach against hypocrisy. And when Christians come out and say that they believe in the words of the Bible and they believe in the words of Jesus Christ, but then they come out and make statements about how you, Mr. President, you matter more to me than anyone else, or when they make comments about, or when they give special blessings to a golden statue to one dear leader, when they come out and make outrageous lies, outrageous claims of stolen valor about how they had served in the military, and then have to walk it back and say, well, they hadn't actually served in the military. They just needed, this is what apparently Pastor Mark Burns explained when he got caught lying about being in the Army Reserves for 6 years, when what he actually was in the South Carolina National Guard. And in his defense, maybe Pastor Mark Burns doesn't know what the difference is. It may be that in his mind, he may not know that in order to serve in the Army Reserves, they have to know that you are. It may be that in Pastor Mark Burns' mind, if you think that you are in the Army Reserves, you effectively are. It may be that kind of thing. And it's strange that we even have to entertain in a modern age that that's even a thing. That could be in his mind. That could be how this happened. And now we have to be concerned and saying, can this person pick up a cell phone and get the ear of the most powerful person in the world at any point in time? Because when it comes to Mark Burns, I have a dread fear that the answer to that question is yes. That if, or he can pick up a phone and call Natalie Harp, who has arranged meetings with people that Donald Trump's inner circle have been trying to keep out of the press and keep away from him. She can make meetings happen for the president of the United States because somebody gets her on the phone. This is according to this new book by Maggie Haberman, and I forget the other guy's name. But then, according to these recent reports, this one I think is from Michael Wolff book. And again, I've not read either of these books yet. I hate the way my life feels when I go down these rabbit holes. But I become just like fixated Some of you may have known me back when I read Fear, Trump in the White House, and I became like obsessed. It's like every time anybody started a conversation with me about the weather, I was like, "Well, let me tell you a thing about Mike Pence. Let me tell you something about a meeting that happened in the Pentagon." I'm sorry, what was your question? Oh, yeah, it rained. Um, in my defense, in Utah, that's always like significant news. That's news on the same level when you're in Utah. Um, but according to this new reporting, in 2020, when Donald Trump lost re-election, getting back to the beginning of this tangent, when he lost re-election, um, his inner circle tried to get this woman out of his orbit. They tried to force her out by basically making sure that when Donald Trump went to Bedminster, to his golf resort in Bedminster, New Jersey, that she didn't have a bed to sleep in. That she didn't have accommodations inside his resort, right? Inside the resort he owns. That's how they finally tried to get the message clear to her. You are not welcome here. We no longer have to put up with you because of your connections at Fox News and One American News Network, which is apparently why she first became important. She was a reporter, I think, on Fox News. It was either on Fox News or One American News Network when Donald Trump signed this Right to Try Act, and she went on and claimed on television that because of the right to try, I don't think it was an act, I think it was an executive order. This right to try policy, um, that because he signed that, she says, she got access to medication that for her bone cancer. She is a survivor of bone cancer, and she was able to get access to medication that she otherwise wouldn't have been able to get access to if this policy had not been enacted, which has since been investigated and discovered that it's not true. It just in it because it just doesn't matter. Christianity has become a culture. Instead of believing that there are certain moral values and principles taught by a Jewish Messiah 2,000 years ago who prophesied an end to the world that didn't actually happen, by the way. Um, don't know if anybody noticed this. It's been 2,000 years. I feel like it's not too soon, 2,000 years later. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Um, Now it's about, if you believe reality in any sense, if you believe things that are happening in the objective real world, you are a faithless, atheistic Korihor. And I have to say, I mean, yeah, which is only to say, as a Korihor myself, and a devoted Korihor at that, I should say, for some time. I'm just gonna say this, I am the first Korihor. I am, I mean, unless Joseph Smith is. Um, uh, I am the Korihor who was a Korihor before there was a Church of Korihor, and I can tell you, one of my main things is, yeah, since no longer being a Christian, I believe in the real world. I believe in that it's important whether or not something happens in the real world. I don't want to be just fed the good news all the time, as it says in the film, apparently, of Horton Hears a Who. I don't want to be the councilman or the Who council who can only hear good news. I want the news as it is. I don't want a steady onslaught of it to the point where I can't think or process anything. But I don't want to be fed only the things that I already believe. I want to learn something new. I want to believe that I am emotionally mature enough to handle something that is contradictory to my current present worldview. And what Christianity has become, modern Christianity, is this fundamental belief that that if you believe in the real world that actually is, you must be evil. You must be committed to trying to hurt God's feelings. And there's no appreciation for the irony that it's very apparent that the God they're talking about is themselves, that they become emotionally invested in your saying something is true because it's true, not because it's something that God says. How many of these things that these Christians believe in are things that God says in any aspects of Holy Scripture? Instead, they feel it in their hearts, just like this story about Mark Burns having served in the Army Reserves. If he feels in his heart that he was in the Army Reserves, well, then he was. That's what he means. And to say then specifically that he was for 6 years, it raises some significant questions then, doesn't it? That's how critical thinking should work. That's how the epistemology that governs ideas like whether or not there is a God, whether or not can be a good person and believe in God or not believe in God. It becomes significant when you also believe I was in the Army Reserves for 6 years, meaning it was in my heart to be in the Army Reserves, which raises the question, I would say, importantly, um, when did you stop? If it's if being in the Army Reserves is just a thing you feel in your heart, when did you stop and why exactly? Right? If you were, and worse, you can defend him. He can defend himself. This is the nuance I'll give to Pastor Mark Burns, who may or may not be an Uncle Ruckus piece of shit. I haven't heard back from any of my black friends to confirm that that's allowed to be said. So I don't know whether he is an Uncle Ruckus piece of shit, but he may be an Uncle Ruckus piece of shit. Is that in his mind, is that he apparently served in the South Carolina National Guard. And that's just not the same thing. And it's important that it's not the same thing when that man now is somehow, allegedly, profiting or earning a paycheck from the fact that not only is he a pastor who has run for office and failed to get elected to anything, but now he is also running a military Christian academy, not a Christian military academy, because that would be a different thing, apparently. He now runs a military Christian academy and has committed stolen valor allegedly. And it's shocking to me to think when did Jesus become the swamp creature that we were told this MAGA movement was supposed to be expelling from Washington, D.C., and now is more deeply embedded than ever? I'll give you another example of it. There's a guy I was just watching today. Speaking of only knowing good news, um, don't ever do this, but do it. Do it, but don't ever do it. Go to the YouTube channel of the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is the most obscene shit show right now that I have ever seen in the history of obscene shit shows. And they just published a video, basically a podcast, ranting about how amazing Donald Trump's recent visit to China was, because, as it was stated by the guy they had on their program, who's one of the people being either paid to be part of Heritage Foundation's staff, or at least getting paid somewhere along the line. He's a lobbyist who worked for 4 years for Dick Cheney. And so, of course, that makes him a significant think tank advisor in Washington, D.C. What he actually is he's being paid by ship owners of Indonesia and Taiwan's government to represent the interests of those people in Washington, D.C. And he is politically conservative and religiously conservative, though it does, his religious um, conservatism isn't mentioned anywhere in his bio. I checked on the Heritage Foundation's website because he's Mormon. This guy named Steve Yates, and I was watching, I was listening to this most recent to one of these more recent episodes where they're talking about how this recent visit to China, which is in the minds of almost all people that I know of who have been watching this, an outright failure. And in the wake, particularly of this memorandum of understanding in Iran, and how that has changed the political atmosphere in the minds of anybody I know of for the worse for the United States, and definitely in the benefit of the new regime in Iran, which may be more powerful now as a result of this war than it was ever previously. Anyways, and he has to spin this as saying, no, it's a really good thing because a world leader has to go to other countries and talk to people. Uh, I mean, that's just about the most milk toast claim that one can make about this. But okay, yeah, no, yeah, the president of the United States should talk to world leaders in other countries. What the frickin' what are you saying, guy? And he goes on in this interview to say, and Donald Trump goes to them to offer them further light and knowledge. And I'm sitting here watching this, trying to occupy my time and mind and hands and with anything else. Today, I was watching this and listening to this and looked up and said, the hell did he just say? That Donald Trump has to offer them further light and knowledge? Further light and knowledge? If those of you who are my dear evangelical friends, my dear lifelong atheist friends, congratulations to you, who are not ex-Mormons like me and like some of the other people you'll find on the broadcast here today or our other regular broadcasts. The only people in the world who use the phrase further light and knowledge are Mormons. And this guy, Steve Yates, just let it slip that he thinks that there needs to be a role for the president of the United States to offer further light and knowledge, which, if you don't know, is a bit of a tell. It's a bit of a tell. So I looked it up. I said Steve Yates. I put into Google Steve Yates, Yates, Yates. Excuse me. I put in Steve Yates, Mormon. First result. Oh yeah, Steve Yates graduated from Brigham Young University and served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Taiwan. Jesus is a swampy shit show in the modern world, and but there are prominent Mormons connected into that world now, so nobody can mention it. When it's your guy, it's totally cool. Right. Very good point. This is the other thing. This is I ask this all the time, people. I'm like, I ask every Latter-day Saint I know who I think I have enough confidence with to ask them, what's your opinion of Pete Hegseth? And I get from people a lot, all this nuance hem ha about, okay, I did think that it was strange. and mean that he took away Christianity from Mormonism. If frankly, if Mormons were not Christians, and I have stated and I continue to assert that Mormons are Christians, perhaps to some controversy, it would only be good for Mormons and for Christians for Mormons to be completely disassociated with Christianity, because modern Christianity has no relevance to the Christianity in the time of Jesus, if that is a thing we even know or understand, which I am increasingly convinced very few people know or understand Christianity as it was in the time of Jesus and the apostles, whoever they were. Um, and that's a bit of a mystery to us actually, because there's so many clues to me uh, that stand out that first century Christians, really the movement of first century Christianity kind of died out. And everything we know now is second, third, fourth Christian century Christianity, perverted by 2,000 years of of the political agenda of this or that autocrat throughout history. And every time that an autocrat comes to power in some country, Christianity gets reinvented in that country. And look, lo and behold, we're seeing a country now where where the worship of Mammon and the worship of Christ are the same thing. And we live in this Mammon atmosphere. And while that's happening, and all being fueled by some wild, and again, come back to my tangent now, where we're going to wrap up here. Um, this of a woman who is 10 years younger than Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka. She's just slightly older than Tiffany Trump. If that's not clear, and feeding him a bunch of extreme far right news that can actually determine the direction of the world. All while he's got this guy Hegseth in the Pentagon making policies that affect whether or not Mormons are seen as legitimate Christians in the eyes of the government. And then you have people like Cardin Ellis over at Ward Radio coming out to state and to make statements about, I'm starting to think maybe some people in MAGA and the Trump administration are not really on our side. And now all of a sudden we have these Mormon podcasters and apologists making statements about how they feel like they're starting to maybe lose confidence with the Trump administration, that maybe they had been patient with Donald Trump and with the administration for long enough, when the administration basically starts to make policy changes that reflect a Christian movement inside Washington D.C. that tolerates Mormons, but does not but does fundamentally believe that they are evil and that they are demons, or that they are possessed by demons. And it's like now all of a sudden that it's made more or less official with this or that decision, all of a sudden now they grow a spine about it. And then as soon as Pete Hegseth responds to that outrage, that moral outrage, because apparently, like I said, there are enough Mormon lobbyists in the Heritage Foundation to get a message to the White House if they need to, because it was not but a week later that they revised this policy in the military that decided not that Mormons are no longer Christians, but reversed that to say no one, effectively, that no one is Christian, to appease the Mormons. And then all of a sudden you have these Mormon podcasters like Karen Ellis making new videos stating, see, I've always liked that Pete Hegseth. He's always been, and all of a sudden they're all back in line. They're all on board. The worship of one mortal human being should be a major indication to everyone that it's not a Christian movement. if this was a movement that in any way embodied the biblical principles and teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, whoever that is. If it's the character in the Bible, this should be unequivocal. But we don't live in a time and age where biblical Christianity has any moral relevance, except maybe in the minds and beliefs of a handful of people who are getting drowned out because they don't have the money and political interests of this particular group. And so, of course, when the Pope, when the Holy See himself comes out to condemn things about things being said and done by the Trump administration that are seen as being hurtful to the people of the world, hurtful to Christianity, hurtful to the legacy of Jesus Christ himself, and coming out to this, to speak to this effect, you have Catholics who don't want to believe it. That when the administration makes statements and moves to try to disenfranchise Mormon voters, you have Mormons who will make excuses for them. It has become a system where Christianity has become a system where you are fed by a steady stream of pastors, prophets, um, influencers, people who proclaim to speak for God, who will tell you that you don't want to believe in reality as it is testable, measurable through science, through any kind of epistemological structure that challenges what you already believe, and that to be a moral failure in this life is to believe that what they personally believe has not been vetted thoroughly enough. That is what Christianity has become. It ironically becomes fulfillment of the Bible itself, where the Bible itself says that in the last days, men will become lovers of themselves. Now, that's not a reference to little factory business. If you know, you know. That's a reference to people being fixated, Christians being fixated only on believing the things they already believe, and being fixated on believing that the only kind of infidelity is a kind of infidelity where you don't flatter the personal feelings, the personal ambitions, and the personal uh, pride of a mortal human being who you have decided to be subjected to instead of Christ. I just have to say, I don't know whether or not Mark Burns is an Uncle Ruckus piece of shit because I haven't been informed that I'm allowed to know that. But if he were, he should repent. Pete Hegseth should repent. None of these people should call themselves Christians if they want to believe that Christianity is defined in the Bible, which, to be honest with you, I don't blame anybody who doesn't want to be part of Christianity as defined in the Bible. I don't want to be. I wouldn't want to be. Christianity as it's defined in the Bible is deplorable to me, much more deplorable than MAGA. But I don't traditionally see Christianity as a political movement. And today it has become one and the same. Hence why Dallin H. Oaks won't make any comment about it, like President Hinckley did. President Hinckley disapproved of the President of the United States sleeping with a girl 27 years his 27 years his junior in 1997, 1998. Well, that's when his statement happens. Um, you know, that that warrants his going on Larry King Live and saying the president either should be removed from office or at least should be investigated to see if he should be removed from office because think of the children. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, who, according to Michael Wolff, the only reason why nobody's really coming out and saying that he's screwing this woman, Natalie Harp, is because, according to these journalists at least, Donald Trump, how's they stated it so that I can be be gentle here. Um, he is post-sex. More mundane people might say that differently. He's post-sex. Okay. How good for the whole world. But apparently this person is infatuated with him to the point where, as I stated before, they try the conservatives who are running this administration behind the scenes tried to get rid of her. Tried to get her, that sounds ominous. They tried to make it clear to her that she wasn't welcome in Donald Trump's inner circle and that they don't want her in his inner circle by making sure that she had no way to be at his beck and call while he was living in New Jersey. And so eventually, because she wouldn't go away, somebody offered her a maid's quarters at this Bedminster, New Jersey uh, golf resort, but that was too far away. So she moved into the women's locker room at this golf resort so that she could be near enough to President Trump when he needed her, that she could get to him faster. And that apparently was in the midst of that. In between, this is after 2020. This is before she became, from 2022 to 2024, I believe. She was then a news reporter at One America News Network. But for this period of time, at least, she was connected at the hip to a man who had left office and was no longer currently the most powerful person in the world, no longer in office. And yet she had to stay so close to him that one night when Melania Trump, in the middle of the night, for whatever reason, wound up going to Donald Trump's personal quarters, his living quarters, for whatever reason, found as she was going in, and apparently was disturbed and upset to discover that Natalie Harp was leaving just as she was arriving. And the moral outrage? Where is the moral outrage? No Christian that I know of is out there making a highly publicized, at least, moral outrage about what's happening there. It's now become normal. The adultery is normal. The corruption is normal. The mammon worship is normal. The golden calf is normal in Christianity. And I'm fine with it as long as we can state once and for all exactly what the problem is. They then go out and preach their morality to all the rest of us, like Pastor Mark Burns Military Christian Academy, founded on what premise? Do they have any special ROTC program that's going to get you a special enlistment, or any kind of advantage in gaining admission to West Point? Not that I know of. Do they have some kind of military training and sponsorship with the Pentagon, or anything that can get you a commission in the Navy, the Air Force, or even the Space Force? I mean, is there any, what does it do? You go and look on their website, they say, and Pastor Mark Burns himself says, well, what it is it's an affordable Christian academy where for only $200 a month, your child can be educated in an environment where they don't hear anything pro LGBTQ and they don't hear anything woke. And that's what Christianity is now. And it's disturbing. Ironically, it may be the Pope who saves them. I hope so. I don't particularly care for this Pope. I like him a lot better than the last one. and I like him better than certainly than the one before that and the one before that. So maybe it's trending in the right direction. Um, but boy, do I wish that he would come out and state a few things a little more explicitly in terms of the mammon worship within Christianity. He might as well. It's not as if Catholicism suddenly going to make a comeback. They are where they are. They're in the position that they're in now. You might as well just speak your mind and do what you think is in service to Christ and his kingdom. And I wish he were more bold, frankly. I don't think he has been nearly bold enough. I also think that he probably does not love gay people and trans people, um, according to statements I've seen and read. I wish that we could get one Christian in the world who was more notorious and more regarded, more well regarded, more respected within the Christian world, specifically for calling out mammon worship. I wish that we could get those people back. What happened to those Christians? Were they ever a thing? Sometimes I think that everything has gone topsy turvy within my lifetime. Other times I think, or maybe I was just a child and didn't understand that it's always been this way. Anyways, oh, I'm going to leave that for another time, and I'm going to get more research on the subject there, Jesse. But anyways, I've rambled for enough time. I'm sorry I didn't have more prepared to talk about today. I've been in a bit of a up in the air situation in the last couple of weeks, and it's been a hard time. Um, yeah, I'll post updates about that later. In any event, I hope that you guys enjoyed Friedanka, the opening hymn to the Church of Korihor's sermon today. I am going to sign off because I really do need to get more sleep before I get before I have to get on an airplane and head back to Charlotte and back to Virginia. But I promise we are going to soon be. Sorry, I'm trying to find a good closing hymn here. I'm hoping that we're going to have a good broadcast on a more regular basis once I get to solving the electricity problem at our house. My new off-grid house runs on a generator that has been, for a while, it seemed kind of iffy. But it's now looking like I may actually get to a battery situation where I will have power on a more consistent basis at the house. Oh, the reports of my having Lyme disease are greatly exaggerated. I'll talk about that next time. Remember the future story. I love you guys' faces. I promise we're going to get back to doing regular posts, and we're going to get back to having more fun. And I will see you guys soon. This is the future story.
We came from the oceans, the forest and plains. Our people had thoughts before they had names. Our hands made the mark for tomorrow to know. In case we don't make it, we were man, this was our home. Wise mothers and fathers, every child of mankind, carrying the story, what awaits us in time. For tomorrow we're born, the story's ours to write. Together tell the dawn, we survive the night. Remember, my child, that we set you free. Write the future story for you and for me. knew borders. This world was our home, sheltered and planted with words and with stone. Buried tools with our dead, told the story once more. With iron and wind, brought our story to shore. Wise mothers and fathers, we will carry your names. In your words and ours, we'll pass on the flame. For tomorrow we're born, the story's ours to write. Together till the dawn, we survive the night. Remember, my child, that we set you free. Write the future story for you and for me. Little one, remember that the story is alive. The past is important, but the future is wide. We chose to bring you here, so our story doesn't end. Please don't quit forever, just rest and try again. For tomorrow we're born, the story's ours to write. Together till the dawn, we survive the night. Remember, my child, that we set you free. Write the future story for you and for me.